What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're actually going to be talking about something different than what I've pulled up right now. I just want to shout out my boy Jalen Green for a quick bit. This boy is him. He's Himothy. He's Himmy Turner. Don't talk about my boy. He's gonna average 25 points per game. Buy on my man's stock. He is going to be one of the most explosive players in the NBA next year. I'm gonna make a short about him. He's during the preseason, he's been going off, and I just want to let y'all know he is him. He is him. He's definitely going to be the third best player in the NBA draft of the 2022 season. No, 2021, excuse me. I don't know why I said 2022, but yeah. So right now we actually have a couple of teams pulled up, a couple of things pulled up. I'm going to be talking about players I think that you should probably sell on, low on. I think that these teams are going to be they have a decent bit of stock going into next year, but I do think that they're going to be a little bit worse than what a lot of people expect, and that's kind of the reason why I pulled up a lot of these teams, all of these players. I think that some of these players are just not going to be as good, or they're just going to have a slight drop off in terms of quality. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, at least for most teams. But I just do want to talk about how some teams aren't going to be as good as they can be. So yeah. So first off, I want to talk about Chris Paul. This is obviously one of the more contentious things I've heard over the offseason, whether or not Chris Paul will drop off. I'm on that boat. I am on the boat that Chris Paul will probably have a really down year this year. And I don't know if it's just because the whole Phoenix Suns situation has just been looking really bad over the last few weeks, or if it's just because of his age, or if it's just a combination of those factors along with something else. But man, what we've been seeing from the Phoenix Suns, I don't know if Chris Paul is going to be nearly as good as he used to be. And in fact, I could probably put DeAndre Ayton down here too, because I don't think he's going to be as good, because him and Monty Williams are not looking at the same boat. Like, come on, man. Like, it's looking bad. It's looking bad. Oh, it actually reminds me, where's Portland right now? I do want to talk about a guy like Jeremy Grant. Now, Jeremy Grant is a player who I don't know who he's going to look like next year. Is he gonna look like 2021 Jeremy Grant, or is he gonna look like role player Jeremy Grant? I don't know. That being said, I would say there's a good chance he does fall off, and it's not because Jeremy Grant is not a good player. No, I think that with the role he's about to be given, he's gonna be given the role where CJ McCollum kind of left. If not him, then it's gonna be Anthony Simons. If Anthony Simons is taking up that role, I don't think that Jeremy Grant is going to get as much shot attempts as he's going to get. That being said, I do think he'll look a lot better on the defensive end, but at least on the offensive end, he's not going to be looking, 20 points per game the last two seasons. I don't think he's going to look like this, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. That being said, I'm not really sure how his stock is lining up, but like in terms of like fantasy points, he's definitely gonna be like down this year. I don't really be playing fantasy. Also, if you hear a kid in the background crying, I'm sorry, I can't control that. That's the neighbors. They be wild. But I do want to talk about the Warriors at least a little bit, not because I think that their stock is gonna go like super down. Their bench though has been cut. They've essentially been gutted a little bit, and I've heard the case that the Memphis Grizzlies are not gonna have the same amount of depth that they have last year. And honestly, if you really think that a guy like Kyle Anderson is really gonna be the type of guy to really just shift the culture of the Memphis Grizzlies, like, come on, bro. Like, let's be real. I think that D'Anthony Melton is a really bad miss, though. I think that they may miss him a little bit. But honestly, like, as we've seen, the numbers are there in terms of, like, the points. But I don't think he's him. Like, even in the playoffs, he wasn't him. So I don't think so. Now, the team that actually did get gutted was the Warriors. I think that this team did not have the depth or they don't have the depth that they had last year. We have a guy like Otto Porter Jr. We have a guy like Gary Payton. I think they also lost Juan Toscano Anderson. This guy's not relevant. But they lost these three guys, and we all know how good Gary Payne and Otto Porter were, especially during the playoffs. And I think that Juan Toscano Anderson did bring him a little bit of win, or a little bit of, good energy off the bench. So I think that it's going to be a really big concern for me, at least for the Warriors, to see how they're gonna go with their depth and stuff like that. Let me check out the championship odds. Yeah, honestly, I see why they're this high, especially because they just won the championship. I would bump that down. Honestly, that's just me though. Uh, I would definitely sell my stock on the Warriors. That being said, it is also true. I was a big advocate of saying that the Warriors would not win that 2022 championship. So I could still be wrong. I could still be wrong. And if it happens, it happens. But that being said, I don't think that the Warriors will be nearly as, or maybe not as good as they were in the regular season last year. I think that they were probably going to be a little worse just because of the depth stuff. That being said, this is also recorded after the Jordan Poole and Jeremiah Green incident. I don't know what's gonna look. I don't know how this team is gonna look after that. But shit, it's looking bad. But let's go on to the next team because I think that the Warriors still could really just prove me wrong. I don't think that the Chicago Bulls could prove anyone wrong. I think we've all sold our stock on the Chicago Bulls last year. They do have the players to really maybe make a run, but I think you're solely relying on a guy like Zach LaVine, and okay. This is actually another person that we need to talk about. DeMar DeRozan probably not going to average that much points ever again. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not. In fact, I think that this season for DeMar DeRozan would have been a lot better if he had Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball on the court at pretty much all the times. But we live in reality. And I don't think that that's really what's going to happen this year. And honestly, I think that DeMar DeRozan is going to have a little bit of a drop off. I think that this 28 points is going to drop to 24. That being said, if he's still averaging like 30 points per game on some nut efficiency, I can't even deny, man, he's going to be a top 20 player. But I think that as a whole, Chicago Bulls and DeMar DeRozan, I think that they're definitely going to take a really big step down. Because one, Lonzo Ball is not going to be back. Two, I think that the problem with the Chicago Bulls is their expected wait, hold on, that's crazy, but their expected win-loss or not, I don't know why I got caught up in that, but I think that their offense needs to be a little bit better than what it is or what it was last year, and I think that their defense may just fall off a cliff this year because Zoe's not going to be back until at least a couple months. This boy's going to be out until like January. I don't think that we're going to see Lonzo Ball for the majority of the last year. Oh, also, this is another team I think that we should all probably sell low on or sell high on while they already have their momentum. And that's the Dallas Mavericks. Not because... Okay, this is actually not even a case because this team got worse. I think that this team is actually rather a little bit better or they just remain the same. I think if Christian Wood does stay on the bench, he's definitely going to win Sixth Man of the Year. But if he doesn't, I think that he's going to average 22 points per game on some nut efficiency. I think that's what we really want to see from Christian Wood. I hope that boy makes an all-star team. But the problem with the Dallas Mavericks isn't even the problem with them themselves. Every other team in the West got better. This team got better. I would say that this team is going to be better. I think that this team got better. This team got better, and I don't think that this team actually got better. But that's already 7 teams or 6 teams that are already ahead of him in the standings. I think that that's probably going to really hamper on the Dallas Mavericks' success. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers, this is a team that I didn't really expect a lot of people would be so high on. They're saying that they are probably a higher end playing team to a actual lower end playoff team or lower seeding, excuse me. I don't see where you see that. I look at this roster and I see a football player who's not playing football right now. I see Dennis Schroeder. Like, be for real. I see a guy who's currently playing off the bench in Russell Westbrook. Actually, let's pull up the game right now. Oh, wait, they haven't played yet? That does make sense. Okay, yeah, they are playing right now. But Russ is actually off the bench right now. And it's kind of crazy. Oh, they don't have the stats. I don't know why. But yeah, it's looking bad. It's looking bad. And honestly, if you ask me, I think that the Lakers being this high, especially in the championship odds, their championship odds are kind of crazy. They're at like 1,400. This is better than the this is the same as the Denver Nuggets, the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't know, man. Also, I'm pretty sure that these odds were made before the Utah Jazz trades. Okay, so this shit is like old. I want to check up the new odds, but yeah, Basketball Reference does need to update this. Alright, I finally pulled up this preseason stuff, and honestly, from what I'm seeing, bro, this is what I'm talking about. I don't think this Lakers team got enough. Even on both ends, we got Anthony Davis, who actually, a guy like Anthony Davis, you guys should probably buy his stock right now. He's actually really low, but honestly, he's been playing really well on the preseason. That being said, he could still get injured. And that's definitely a really big problem with Anthony Davis. What the I did not mean to do that. That's a big problem with Anthony Davis. And honestly, I would not be surprised if he didn't buy a stock, but I think I think outside the rest of this team, I don't know what I was saying there. There is no defense. I These guys are just walking cones. I don't get it. And then they talk about how this team could be one of the best defensive teams. I don't see it. They only got Patrick Beverly and that boy Anthony Davis, and that's it. I don't expect this team to be higher than a team. I don't expect them to be higher than any of these teams. Ooh, let me just get that. I don't expect them to be higher than any of these teams, and this is already 8 teams. You can make the argument that Portland's better, Sac is better. Fuck, they may fuck around and be worse than the Spurs. They may mess around and be worse than the Houston Rockets. Shout out my boy Jalen Green. I don't know. Yo, this team about to be some hot ass. But yeah. Actually, one other thing. The Brooklyn Nets are a team that I'm actually really down on. And it's actually not even because of anything really bad. Also, if you hear screaming, again, my neighbors are wilding right now. But the problem with this team isn't necessarily that they are really that bad. I just don't really have that much belief in them. I think that even with Ben Simmons, they just didn't add enough defense. They have a guy like Royce O'Neal, but again, they have no rim protector at all. Ben Simmons against a five is not gonna work out well. Like, imagine Ben Simmons against Joel, bro. Ben Simmons is gonna get cooked for real. Also, let me check this recording time. I still got time, but yeah, I think I've already just established that I just don't think that this team is really gonna be working the best. Excuse me. And even if they do play Ben Simmons next to Nicholas Claxton, like, bro, what? That team is not gonna have any floor spacing. They're gonna put Brook Lopez on Nicholas Claxton and Ben Simmons, or in Giannis on Ben Simmons, and nobody in that fucking court is going to score. Like, come on, this team is going to be some hard doo doo. I'm sorry. I don't think that this team just has enough. And I think that their offense is actually going to be really good. I think what I've seen from Ben Simmons on the offensive end is actually really solid. He's able to really just make a lot of the passes that I don't think KD and Kyrie are going to make. But we're going to go to a certain point where we know that Ben Simmons isn't going to pass or he's going to pass rather than shoot. He's not looking to pass. He's not looking to shoot. He's looking to pass. Excuse me. And that's where we just get to the point where we just don't see that well of a showing from the Brooklyn Nets. The last guy I got here is Kyle Lowry. Honestly, I take back what I was about to say with Kyle Lowry. He may be similar to last year. I don't think that's necessarily a disappointing thing. I would have said though that Kyle Lowry was not going to average the same amount of assists that he averaged last year, and that's because of. I'm sorry, there's people outside of my house that are just wilding right now. And that's because Miami is probably not going to be reliant on Kyle Lowry's playmaking, but I think that that's still not going to be something to be really concerned about. But yeah, it's your boy Nehemiah, a.k.a. Neo, and I hope you guys are having a great one.